Y'all, I think I'm about to get fired. Because they just put a random meeting on my calendar with HR. Girl, I know what that means. Just get it over with. Like, just text it to me.
Is experiencing a moment of significant change. So this has required us to manage the business more tightly, focusing on billability. So we in the other sectors have been working through efforts to increase staff billability to reach FY26 billability targets. And so we're continuously evaluating the your location or the expertise or the years of experience, right? And so the decision is not made lightly by the leaders in the health account, but at this time, we're moving forward with your formal severance notification detail. And so now I am going to have Adam discuss the next steps, right? And for
would be on August 18th, which would be 10 business days from today. You are eligible for a severance payment, which is calculated based on your role and your tenure with the organization. And is because of this action, your access will be shut off tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Eastern time. So if there are any personal files...
Please continue doing what you're doing because...
I would say I don't know who needs to hear this, but I do. And it's the 300,000 black women that just got laid off. Pull up and listen for a sec, because your good sister in layoff has been there. And what I want to tell you and remind you of is God is able. Always. I got laid off in 2023 from a huge tech company. Then I got another job. Then I got laid off in 2024, girl. Okay? So that devastation that you feel, that feeling of being robbed, that feeling of I put my entire heart in this shit, I worked overtime, I worked twice as hard, I moved up, I did what I was supposed to do, and you still did this, I know that feeling. That feeling of having your identity wrapped up in a company and you were the girl that worked at X, Y, and Z and now you're not, I know that feeling. And let me tell you that this is just a season. This is just a season. But I want to first acknowledge that it's a devastating season. And I also want to let you know that it is not personal. Please hear me, and I'm going to say that again. Your layoff was not personal. We're not going to get into the reasons because everyone's situation is different, but it wasn't personal. So do not take it as I did what I was supposed to do and still got screwed, so what's the point? Do not let that demon of a thought settle into your soul. Do not. Because that is what will keep you from your next blessing. If you identify as a loser, then you can't get the blessings that are titled for winners. It won't reach your address. Okay? And I want to tell you this. Your belief right now is the partner that you need to your skills. You have the skills. You just need to believe. There are 300,000 other jobs somewhere. I don't care if they're in this country, out of this country, contract work, part-time, start a business, start a consulting, start doing content. I don't care. There is something out there with your name on it. Because if God could find me a job 2 times, I feel like finesse 2 times, okay? In a year, it can happen for you. I know how it feels to go from making 6 figures to filing unemployment 2 times, okay? I know how it feels to go from having a healthy savings to $0. I know how it feels to lose your job with absolutely no notice. There's no 2 weeks. But what I want to tell you is that every time the money ran out, God sent more. Every time. Every time I lost an opportunity, God sent another one. Let me tell y'all that in the middle of my second layoff, little testimony, in the middle of my second layoff, I got a phone call. And I got that phone call 3 days after I went into anaphylaxis from my allergies. First time that had ever happened to me, I almost died in my sleep. 3 days later, I got a call from the producers of Love and Hip Hop Miami to go coach for an episode of their show. They flew me out 48 hours later. That episode didn't air, but literally as my bank account was about to hit 0, that payment hit and carried me over for the next little while. And it let me know God is listening. And he's dropping blessings out of nowhere, y'all. And when I'm telling you, the work that you've done that you think does not matter, does. And I'm going to tell you why. When I interviewed for the thing, the producer asked me, have you ever worked with artists or celebrities or anything of that nature? Because you're going to be working with a music artist. I said, yeah, I used to work for a company and I did like wellness programming, and some of the people that we had come in to do mental health and wellness programming were artists. One of them was Ace Hood. Literally, as I said that name, the producer's face lights up and he goes, "What? That's my boy." I didn't realize Ace was on the show. Okay, so that thing that I did for free many years ago that I thought didn't matter, and I just did it out of the love of my heart, and I was bitter that then people overlooked me for X, Y, and Z, ended up being the thing that got me an opportunity in the middle of a season that I could have counted as me being out of here. There are 10 million other testimonies I could give you as to how I got back to where I am right now. In fact, I'm at a higher position now than when I got laid off the first time, because God is that able. He's like that. So I want you to dig back into the bag of your belief and throw off the bitterness that you rightfully have, but you can't stay there. You got to get up. You got to get up. Okay? As Sarah Jakes Roberts would say, girl, get up. All right? I just wanted to drop that on your spirit and encourage you. And if you need some further encouragement, drop down in the comments, because I do read those every single day. And as always, Auntie loves you.
The United States is going through harsh economic conditions today. And one of the most devastating things that is happening is that while the other communities are trying to ask themselves this question, why is it that during these hard times, Black people are still managing to put a smile on their face? And this leaves people with so many questions. And as a result, there is so much scrutiny that is going on towards Black people, especially in these job places. There are instances and evidences arriving that there is so much targeting towards Black women, especially those who are working in tech companies. And people are being fired, especially Black people. The statistics were out. And, initially people were arguing that, it's everyone that is being fired. It's not just Black people. And then the statistics came. And you can see people coming out, especially Black women, complaining how they are being fired, right? As we are talking to you, as I am talking to you, we already having people that are being fired. And, this is something that is happening. So the biggest question is, why do you think this is happening to Black people? I'm just asking the question. First, I like to say that the firing and exclusion of Black women from the American job market, particularly in tech and professional spaces, this signals something so much deeper than individual employment struggles. It reflects persistence of structural racism embedded within the U.S. economy. When Black women disproportionately lose jobs, it is not coincidence, or is it it is not a market shift. It is a symptom of systemic anti-Blackness that dictates who is seen as valuable, capable, and fit for professional advancement. Tech jobs, which are tied to innovation and the future of economic power, became guarded spaces where white supremacy resists sharing access with marginalized groups, especially Black women. This exclusion reveals how America still functions on a racial hierarchy where Black labor is desired for service but not trusted within the authority, influence, or wealth creation. When you talk about critical race theory, when Kimberly Crenshaw was talking about gender, intersectionality, and race, you get to realize that there is so much to talk about when it comes to gender and race, especially when you talk about the United States as the subject of being matter. Remember, when other people are going through different things, because people will claim that everyone is being fired, but you'll ask yourself this question: why is it that we are having a large number of Black women being fired? For example, it is right now more than 300,000 women that have been fired within 1 month, being fired. And a lot of them are still coming. So when we have Black scholars that talk about critical race theory, we need to think deeply. Why is it that they are coming for Black and women only? Black women. So let's watch this video. I'll be back and then I'll be sharing my thoughts at the end of the video. I hope you get to learn, take the message from everyone that is trying to share it. And some I know will be devastating. Some of you are watching this, I know you are fired, and I understand how you feel, right? And I'm really, really sorry. I pray that God be sufficient to you and to your family and to those who depend on you. But until then, let's watch the video. I'll be back and then I'll be sharing my thoughts.
So I just came across a content creator talking about how and why Black women are being laid off from their corporate jobs in such large numbers. And she says it's because they never wanted us there. And that is so true. You guys, I used to be an accountant. I've worked in the corporate space and I've worked in the government space. They don't want us there. You know, when I used to get hired by jobs and shortly after I started, it would just be weird vibes. I used to say, you know, I think they only hired me because they have a secret bet going around of how long I will stay or how long I'll put up with the bullshit. And I'm a person that has high self-esteem and a very low tolerance for bullshit. You are not going to play on my head stop. You're not going to play in my face, play on my intelligence, treat me a certain kind of way. You're not going to throw rocks and hide your hands. I mean, I don't have any patience for spiritual or psychological warfare. So you can imagine I did not stay in corporate very long. And when I say not long, I mean like less than 3 years. I did not stay in corporate long because it is psychologically and mentally draining. This is why so many of us have an issue with autoimmune disorders, or again, trauma and health problems, and our nervous system is so destroyed, and it's because we are in spaces where we are not wanted, and the people are letting you know that silently. And it's not silently, but they're doing, again, little pesky things, or they're leaving you out of meetings, or they're quiet, firing you, or again, they're putting you in uncomfortable situations. Or my favorite one, they have a mess going on and they only hire you to clean up the mess. Like, we deserve better. Imagine going to school and getting into debt only to be at a company as the cleanup girl, or only at the company to be the scapegoat, or only at the company as the diversity hire. Like, we deserve better. We need to stop begging for acceptance and begging to be in rooms that we're not wanted. Corporate America is not made for Black people. They don't want us there. We need to stop seeing white people's version of success as our version of success. Their rules don't apply to us. They have privilege that we do not have, that we will never have. You will never win playing a game that was never designed for you to play. We are not meant to be in their spaces. We need to continue to pour back into ourselves and our own communities. White people don't want you in their space, and they only hire you to traumatize you and for their own sadistic pleasure. Stop begging to be in places where you're not wanted. Break the chains of Martin Luther King's whole dream of integration. They don't want to integrate with you. They hire you to traumatize you and fire you. If you keep playing their game, they're still in control of you. Peep that. Let's talk in the comments.
I've been sitting with this article for the past couple of days, and it finally clicked. Let's read and comprehend together. Black Enterprise. April jobs report. Black women lost 106,000 extra jobs, most among all workers. I think this sister is comprehending the impact of this. But again, let's take it a step further. Reading and comprehension, one builds on the other, right? 1 month, April 2025. Not only did Black women lose jobs on par with the other demographics in the workforce, an additional 106,000 Black women lost jobs, most among all workers. So not just 106,000 Black women lost jobs, no, over and above all the other demographics. So I hope you're picking up what I'm putting down. I'm Angela. I experienced a corporate layoff in June of 2023 after a 30-year career in human resources and talent acquisition. I have since moved into the beauty and wellness space as a licensed esthetician and skincare entrepreneur. If you're not a Black woman, you're welcome to stay and listen to the rest of the commentary if you're still here. But if you are in fact a Black woman, I really want to leave you with 2 things. Number 1, this is hard. And it's scary. Please do not underestimate the mental, emotional, and physical toll of a layoff. Being laid off as a Black woman can be a very unique experience. If you know, you know. If it's not you, ask a friend who's been laid off why it is so difficult to recover from. If you, in fact, have been laid off, let people know how you feel, because a closed mouth won't get fed. Number 2, I want you to do what you've always done, but I want you to do a little bit differently this time. Because the beautiful Aaliyah told us to dust yourself off and try again. But this time, I want you to do it for you. I want you to release the expectations that others have of you. I want you to do something for you. And it may just be 1 day a week or 2 days a week, whatever you can handle at this time, and allow it to grow. Do not underestimate what we call pink collar jobs. Beauty is a $1 billion industry. There's enough for you to get a slice. Go back to school. Get your cosmetology, aesthetics, barber, nail license. Do something. Go get that certificate in floral design, nutrition, fitness, yoga certification, Pilates certifications. Get up and do something. I'm seeing too many TikToks of us just paralyzed by fear and doubt and uncertainty, when it's truly a lack of security. Jobs are not going to keep us secure any longer. You got to build that security from the inside out. It's never going to be a 100% secure situation. And what you do next may not only save you, but it could save the next sister. Kudos to all y'all out there still holding it down in corporate. I love to see it. And I want you to take very good care of yourselves. Allow us who've made those transitions to take good care of you too. This is very real, and it really hit home. And I'm very grateful for being able to make the pivot that I've made. And I want to encourage you to do the same.
300,000 Black women have been laid off in the last 90 days just in 2025. This conversation we're about to have is very urgent and it needs to be talked about. I read an article from WBcollective.org that stated that Black women typically go into healthcare, government, and education, which have been considered very safe job sectors for us. Under the new administration and all these budget cuts, we have been absolutely affected the most. I don't think this is the time for us to be selling Black women courses or telling them to go back to school, because a lot of them have families to take care of and they need support right now. So we need to be looking at ways that we can support all these women that have been laid off. If you are at a job and you're willing to refer a woman, please do so. If you are willing to help funding with them to get their business off of the ground, please do so. My name is Kina. I'm the co-founder of a tech organization. I have also been pushed out of corporate America at one point and decided to branch out on my own here in Chicago. So if you'd like to follow along for that journey, you can find me at NUCORD, and we create community for adults and students looking to break into tech. See you later.
I don't mean to say this like to be disrespectful, and maybe this is, some people are going to think this sounds dumb, but I feel like there's a deeper reason why, you know, people of color and specifically the Black community have been relentlessly persecuted. Like, I mean, just the things that happened during slavery alone, like, were insane. But I don't know, the more I learn about Black history and the ways that, you know, people who literally worked in the government, like the CIA, all these different people in power were trying to ruin the Black community. And it makes me think, dude, I feel like, is there something more going on here than just racism? Because it's like, come on, you're telling me you're doing all of this stuff just because you don't like someone's skin color? I feel like, what if, I have this theory that, like, what if Black people have some type of superpower? Like, what if they have, I don't know, if they're just born with something very valuable that we don't really know about, but maybe, you know, like I said, these people, these rich people and these people in power, maybe they figured it out a long time ago, and maybe that's why they were like, oh, we have to, like, get rid of them, blah blah blah. I don't know, I feel like maybe they have something special that we are not taught about that is linked to them being people of color, you know. And I've seen some Black creators come on here and try to explain how special it is to have melanin in your skin and how it has all these different properties. But I don't know, I just feel like I have this theory that this goes so much deeper than maybe a lot of us realize, because I'm sorry, but I don't think you're gonna go out of your way for all these hundreds and hundreds of years to try to ruin one group of people over something as silly as, oh, their skin is a different color. Like, I feel like there's something that we don't know. I'm telling you, there's something special about them that they don't want us to know. Okay, this is just something that I've been thinking about recently, and I'm like, maybe if there are some Black creators that maybe they already made a video and I just didn't see it, I don't know, but like, I don't know, maybe this sounds dumb, like, or maybe this is like, yeah, no shit, Sherlock, but, you know, it's just something I was thinking about.
Over 350,000 Black women were laid off. People getting fired from LinkedIn. Microsoft is replacing people's jobs with AI. Yep. It's finna get, I'm about to say it's finna get serious. It's serious. And it's going to get worse. More Black women are going to get fired. And Black men. People don't know where their last meal, not that last meal, but next meal is going to come from. People don't know how they going to pay their bills. Dog, this economy is effed up. The job market is complete shit. People are suffering. And then I be coming across these videos where I understand people trying to motivate people by saying, man, this is the time to start a business. Motherfucker, if people don't have no money to support your business, why would you start a business? Because who's going to buy the shit? Some people don't want to start a business. They want to use their degree. Doctors were getting laid off. Nurses getting laid off. This stuff is affecting everybody, bro. Hey, man. If you don't believe in Jesus, you might want to start. You might want to throw up a prayer. Because it's going to get worse. Listen, it's going to get worse. It is a darn shame that in today's times, you need at least 5 sources of income just to make ends meet, bro. I'll be praying for everybody. Keep your head up. But I'm just letting you know the truth. Shit ain't gonna never be the way it was. Sorry for cursing. Things ain't gonna never be the way it was, bro. There will be no course correction. There will be no course correction. I think the best thing people could do, bro, is try to save as much money they can and leave. That's my opinion. And also, just to throw this out there, bear with me. Since everything's so messed up anyway, why doesn't the collective group of Americans just sit down for a week? If 51% of the American population just decided that they wasn't going to go to work for a week, bro, I guarantee all the problems that you have will be fixed overnight. They'll figure it out. It's up to the American people to put the pressure on the government. It's up to the American people, bro. Might want to try something. If there was ever a time to be revolutionary, might want to start now.
300,000 Black women have left the workforce, according to MSNBC, and it is not a coincidence. We have seen the cuts that the federal government has been making, specifically across the Department of Education, Department of Health and Human Services, and we have seen the cuts happen. We've also seen the cuts happen over the last few months, specifically at the federal level and also across the private sector due to DEI. And according to this article, the participation rate has now dropped below Latinas for the first time in over a year. Now, one thing that stuck out to me that I thought was very interesting, which kind of led to the conclusion of this article, is that 51% of households with Black children are led by Black women who are the breadwinners.
And the article specifically cites that Black women tend to be the economic foothold of the Black community.
So let me give y'all a little bit of insight, because I seen this report and I also seen a news report that came along with it. And we had a conversation about it on the Millionaire Morning Show, right? And so really what this means is that there are a lot of single mother households. Let me say that again. There are a lot of women that broke up their families or that never had a family in the first place, and they decided that they wanted to partner with the federal government in multiple different ways, one including women that, basically lean on child support, social services, welfare, food stamps, and EBT. That comes along with also when they do get educated or when they do get a job, regardless of what field of study, even if it's not a field of study that is what society needs, they were basically somewhat guaranteed a job or a government contract or to work for a government contractor when it came to the federal government. And so basically the government has been subsidizing Black women. And this is just a fact. This is not my opinion. This is not anything to do with relationships. This is just more or less the facts. The government has been subsidizing Black women when it comes to their household, which gave them more power to be able to break up their families. And so now when we realize that diversity, equity, and inclusion was really government subsidies to ensure that Black women had an opportunity to be able to work, instead of them going into fields, which obviously we know that you had to incentivize them to go into like STEM fields, because if you didn't, then you wouldn't have those type of programs. If they naturally selected them, then they would be more visible and they would be more viable to what it is that we needed in society. But instead, now what you see is when the rubber meets the road and we go into a merit-based society and a merit-based capitalistic system, they no longer have any value because there wasn't a lot to do in the first place, and their jobs was basically all tied to the federal government.
I keep seeing all the posts that people are making about the 300,000 Black women that have been affected by unemployment. And I am just here to say that Black women, rest is revolutionary. And some of y'all are being forced to rest right now. And I know that that might be uncomfortable because we continue to strive. We continue to achieve. We continue to do things and break mold and break barriers and burst through ceilings in spite of, right? But I'm telling y'all that if there's ever a time that you need to trust who we've always proven ourselves to be, it's right now. Some of you Black women are the missing puzzle pieces to somebody else's full picture. Some of y'all need to start the companies. Some of y'all need to take your talents into your friend groups and expand these ideas that you've always had. Some of y'all might have never taken the leap to do those things if you weren't released from the shackles of corporate America. But one thing about Black women that I know to be true, we are resourceful, we are resilient. And y'all gonna make something out of nothing every single time. And I know you might be tired, but take this moment of rest and rest, because rest is revolutionary. You deserve it, sister.
350,000 Black women lost their job in the first 6 months of this year. But they talk about, the unemployment rate ticked up a little, but it doubled, almost doubled for Black people. What DEI was about Black women who'd achieved a certain amount being taken from their jobs at one time. DEI has never done to America what GCI did. GCI is greedy, corrupt, incompetent white men. They talk about these things in an abstract concept, and if you look at the fact that Black women are the most educated segment of our society, white men are the most uneducated. This was bound to happen. And the fact that there were a lot of Black men and Latin men who helped this happen is something it's hard for me to reconcile.
You know what's really concerning to me is that he didn't like the jobs report.
Right.
The one that he had touted before when it was in his favor, right? Trump didn't like the jobs report. And so then he fired the head.
Okay, but no, hold on. I'm so thankful that we are really on this topic of Black women losing their jobs, because can we talk about how they fired us? Because God damn it, I worked a full day, logged out, got a phone call, 4 o'clock. You fired. Turn the equipment in immediately. Huh? If you don't turn the equipment in, you getting legal charges for theft. Huh? And I ain't even got paid. So what the fuck did we do to America? other sisters. What did we do? Tried to get an explanation. They felt like they didn't owe me no explanation. Cool. Filled out the unemployment shit. They ain't even responded back to that. I'm like, well, fuck. All right.
The specific targeting of black women for job losses also speaks to the intersection of racism and sexism, often called misogynia, which marks black women as uniquely vulnerable to the labor markets. They are expected to work harder than their peers, yet they still face stereotypes of being angry, difficult, unqualified. When layoffs happen, these biases shape who is seen as expendable. Companies frame firing as neutral business decisions, but the racialized outcomes shows that neutrality is a myth. Decisions are filtered through systemic prejudices. This keeps black women at the margins despite their proven education, skills, and resilience. Another layer is the historical context of this. Remember that America has consistently policed where black people can work, from slavery to domestic work to low-paying industrial jobs. Black labor has always been pushed into roles of servitude rather than innovation. The modern tech industry, often celebrated as the future, is simply replicating the same racial exclusion in a new form. By systematically pushing black women out, the industry signals that it wants black labor only at the bottom tier of the economy, not in spaces that create wealth, power, and ownership. This is not accidental. It is part of how white supremacy maintains control over the future. Because you've had Mr. Donald Trump working black people to go back on the farms. So they'll lose you the jobs so that you remain desperate and go and work for them. Right? These job losses also weakens black households and communities more broadly. For many families, black women are primarily breadwinners, and the exclusion from high-paying fields like tech means less access to wealth, healthcare, education, and housing. This fuels generational poverty and keeps communities dependent rather than empowered. The cycle is deliberately self-reinforcing. Deny access to high-paying jobs, then you use the lack of wealth as proof that black communities are somehow less capable of advancement. Also, beyond economics, the exclusion from tech jobs is also about cultural erasure. The tech industry shapes the digital future. That's algorithm, artificial intelligence, surveillance, media. Yet without black representation, these tools will reduce racist outcomes at scale. The firing of black women silences voices that could challenge these biases, ensuring that technologies shaping tomorrow continue to harm the marginalized groups. In this way, job loss is not just personal tragedy, but collective dispossession. It denies black communities the chance to shape their own future. And you need to understand that this phenomenon also reflects fear within white America. The presence of black women in high status fields threatens the myth of white superiority. If black women succeed in tech, they shatter the stereotype of incompetence and expose the lie that whiteness is the foundation of innovation. And therefore, limiting their presence becomes a defensive mechanism, a way for the system to protect white dominance, even in industries supposedly built on merit. Remember that anti-blackness here functions as both control and preservation of a fragile racial order. Also, another key aspect is the performative nature of diversity in tech. Many companies hire black women as a form of tokenism to display inclusion while never giving them genuine authority or long-term stability. When economic downturns arrive, these token positions are initiatives and they are often fast to go. This reveals the superficiality of corporate diversity initiatives, which are more about optics than dismantling structural racism. For Black women, this means constantly being used as symbol of progress, only to be discarded when power feels threatened. The message to the Black community is chilling. America does not want you in spaces where wealth and innovation are generated. It prefers you as consumers of technology, not as creators. It prefers you as gig worker and service provider, not as CEOs, engineers, or designers. By excluding Black women, who historically have been the backbone of labor resistance and survival, the system weakens collective advancement and ensures that structural inequality remains intact. At the psychological level, these exclusions create frustration. It creates despair and disillusionment. Black women who work hard to secure degrees and enter competitive fields find themselves ousted, often without clear justification. This breeds distrust in the so-called American dream, as it becomes clearer that no amount of education or skill can fully overcome systemic anti-Blackness. For broader community, it sends a warning. The system will always find new ways to close doors. And in the end, we also get to see that the targeting of Black women for job losses reflects America's refusal to genuinely allow Black people to thrive in spaces that matter for the future. It reveals a system designed to use Black bodies, but not to empower Black minds. For Black community, this means resilience will once again be acquired. Building alternative pathways, supporting one another, and creating independent structures outside the reach of white-controlled industries. Because if America refuses to provide solutions, Black people will continue to create their own. And I'm your host and presenter, Unique Stories. Please let me know what you think about this video. But until then, let me see you in my next video. Peace, love, and harmony. Salute.